In this video, I'm going to show you how I would solve the task that I gave you in the previous session. Now, first of all, the task said we needed a database and it gave us the name of the database. So let's create the database and call it custom_auth. Click carriage return. We now have a database. Then let's create a new table, call it users. And this is actually where most of you would thread wrong. Why? Because you'd probably choose the default primary key type. Now, I wouldn't do that. Why? Because usernames needs to be unique. We could use an auto increment as the primary key and then manually write the SQL to apply uniqueness of the username field afterwards. However, it's actually much simpler to choose a varchar, make its length 100 to allow us to have long usernames, and then use username as our primary key. Now, when we click create, we now have usernames being the primary key. This ensures that we cannot insert the same username twice, at which point the only thing we actually need to add is the password field. And then choose data type of text and turn off nullable. Why? Because we don't want users with a null password. That would be a bad thing for the record. So now we can click create and we now have our database. Now we can go to HyperID. We can choose modules, then we choose the triple dots up here, we choose active folder, we choose a new folder, and we name our folder custom_auth, for instance, carriage return. Then we select that folder, then we choose the active folder, we create a new file, we call it login.get.hl. Why get? Because the specification told us to explicitly use the HTTP get verb. Now we have a new file here. Now we want to create an arguments collection having a username of type string and a password of type string. Then for bonus, we want to make sure that these two arguments are both mandatory. Username, whoops, and password. Then at this point, we want to write data.connect and connect to our, what was the name of our database? Custom auth, yeah, sorry about that. Custom auth. Then we want to do data.read table users columns count asterisk where and username.eq :x:@ arguments / username, and then we want to do the same with password here. And now if this data.read invocation returns anything really, right, we know for a fact we have a match, right, on both username and password. So we can check if exists : x : at data.read / *** lambda. Match. Let's create some comments here just to be nice. Then we want to do auth dot ticket.create username : x : at arguments / username, and then the thing told us to statically add the user to the role of guests. Then we want to return this guy, ticket : x : let's copy this guy. And then let's use unwrap : x : plus / Now we want to have an else, and remember how the specification told us to throw an exception if we didn't find a match. Now, when we are throwing exceptions, for this particular exceptions, first of all, we don't want to give away any information. So if the username is wrong or the password is wrong, we want to return the same error to the caller. However, we want to apply a specific status code, being 401, and we want the exception to be publicly visible for the end user. If I now save this file and I invoke it with blah 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 and blah blah blah, you will see that it returns 401. Why did it return wrong? Select count from, yeah. We don't want to use count, we want to use a username, because the count still has actually a value, even though the value is null. If I now invoke it with blah 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 and blah blah blah, we will see that it returns 401 and no such user. If I invoke it with foo and foo, it returns 200. Why didn't it return 200 there? Let's see in SQL Studio. Select all from users, choose my correct database, F5. Because we forgot to insert our user. So let's insert into users, user name, password, values, foo, foo. Now, if you remember from one of our previous videos, we could select or highlight the SQL we want to execute, which we just did. Now let's see. Now we have a foo user. If we now invoke it with the username of foo and a password of foo, then it should return a valid JWT token to us. And we can go to jwt.io and actually verify that the token is a valid token. Now paste it in here. You will see the username is foo and the role is guests. Now, if we apply the wrong password, then you see still 401 message, no such user. So we've now solved the use case from the previous session. Now all we need to do is to document it. Allows a user to authenticate towards the custom auth database. Then we might want to additionally provide a dot description, allows, and typically you just want to copy and paste this code, to be honest with you. And then maybe sanity checking invocation, connecting to our database, reading, selecting the user, if any, from our users database, matching the username password combination. Actually, this one became too long, so let's split it into 2 lines. And verifying the above resulted in something. Match. Whoops. And there we are. Alt S to save, and we're done. There's a link in the description of this YouTube video to an article where you can download this code. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell, share the video with your friends. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.